2022 is quickly coming to a close, but with it marks the beginning of the high school hockey season. The goal of all teams in Eastern Mass is this: to leave the ice with trophy in hand, as St. John's Prep did a season ago. Hello and welcome to New England Hockey Journal. I'm your host, Evan Marinofsky. On this episode, we'll look at the top 10 ranked teams in Eastern Mass, and here they are. St. John's Prep remains the team to beat. Coach Christian Hansen's squad should be there again in the spring. Last year's runner-up from Xaverian remains a deep team, big and athletic, with Catholic Memorial in at number 3, featuring sophomore center Tyler Hamilton, who some say is one of the best high schoolers in Massachusetts. With us to start today's show is Paul McNamara from MyHockey Live. Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Evan. Great to be here.
So earlier this month marked the unofficial start of the high school hockey season when the annual Garrett Reagan Summit was held. Paul, you've done many of these over the years. What is the Summit?
The Summit essentially is a giant jamboree. It comes on Sunday, the 7th day that kids are allowed on the ice with their coaches. And it attracts a lot of teams. There were 52 boys teams there this year and 12 girls teams. It's put on by the High School Hockey Coaches Association. John McGuire is the executive director, having taken over for the late Charlie Driscoll, who got this thing underway in honor of his pal Garrett Reagan, who passed away. And it's great. The coaches respond. It's another scrimmage on the schedule, a preseason scrimmage for everyone. And they come and they have good opponents. It's 2 15-minute periods and 1 mini game. And it's a heck of a day. Some people think it's a little circus-like out there with everybody walking by, and we set up our MyHockey Live cameras, and we live stream 7 of the scrimmages from Rink 1. And we use 5 rinks, and it's a heck of a day.
Well, I remember playing in it, and I remember all the fun of it, the great atmosphere. But from the coach's perspective, what is their goal on a day like the Reagan Summit?
Well, for the most part, they want to see kids on the ice in action against a good opponent. Most of them have not made their final cuts at this point because it's only a week in, but they want to try different line combinations. They want to try a couple of goalies if they can, get new guys into the mix and see how they stand up against varsity competition.
I remember it well, and let's move on to our top 10 teams, which are subjective, of course. But we'll start with number 10, Belmont, a very interesting team there. What are the expectations for them heading into the season?
Well, I think Coach Tim Foley expects a lot out of his team. Belmont out of the Middlesex League, very competitive, and they feature one guy that everybody looks at when they walk in the rink, number 4, Cam Fici.
Fici once again, another shorthanded, yes!
He's their leading scorer, returning. He's a right wing. His left wing, Shea Donahue, is back, as are the wings on the second line. Their offense doesn't need to do a lot because they're great defensively. They lost goaltender Ryan Griffin, who had an ungaudy goals against average. They played great defense, and they've got 3 of their top defensemen back too. They've got good size. They move the puck well. Down the stretch, people question their depth, but the kids are so good in that depth, in that top group, that they win a lot of games. And they got deep in the tournament last year. They lost to eventual number 2 Xaverian in a great 1-goal game. But they'll be back again. They've beefed up the schedule a lot. They've got CM and BC High on the schedule, as well as Pope Francis. So Belmont will be a team to be reckoned with.
Well, some of those teams we'll be discussing later in this episode. But at number 9, we have Braintree.
We don't like to rebuild. We just kind of retool. And this year you'll see that. I mean, we have 7 or 8 returning good varsity players with a lot of big game experience. And then we also have, we had some juniors and some sophomores into the mix, and we were fortunate to have a few transfers come in back to Braintree High. So we like our team a lot.
So you just heard from Coach Dave Fasano there. Paul, again, they're a hardworking team, veteran group. What do you see their expectations being this season?
Like Belmont, their expectations are high. Coach Fasano's a terrific hockey guy. He's got one guy, number 21, back, who's his son, Nick Fasano. He'll be leading the offensive charge with Kyle Hutchison and Charlie DiMartino. They've got a defenseman, number 20, Cody is back as well, and their goaltender's back, Jack Fitzgerald, who had a great year last year. Braintree's a program that it's hard to make the team because there's so much depth, and they lost probably 11 or 12 seniors from last year's team, but they expect other guys to step right in because they've got a terrific JV program. And like most of the teams who want to get better and improve their status in the state, they've got a terrific schedule as well. They, like Belmont, they are in the Ed Burns Classic, which is a 3-weekend tournament that starts the end of January. They'll be playing the top public school teams in the state, and both of those teams are expected to go deep in that, as well as in the later tournament in February.
We're back after a break as New England Hockey Journal continues.
New England Hockey Journal's Rinkwise podcast, hosted by Stephanie Wood, is the hockey podcast for serious hockey players and their supporters to help guide them throughout their hockey careers with interviews and insight from some of the biggest names in the game. Download Rinkwise today wherever you get your podcasts or listen at hockeyjournal.com/podcast.
We're back here on New England Hockey Journal, and we're joined by our own Jeff Cox. Jeff, welcome.
Evan, thanks for having me.
Let's continue our climb up the ladder with team number 8, which is BC High. What are you seeing out of them this season?
BC High is always a competitive team in the Catholic Conference under Coach John Flaherty. They lost a couple key players. His son, Ryan Flaherty's off to Avon Old Farms, Holy Cross commit, and James Marshall left BC High to go to South Kent. But they have a couple really good young forwards, a freshman, Mike Federico, and a sophomore, Joe Feinberg, who should pick up some of the scoring slack for them.
What makes them such great players?
To me, Federico is one of those goal scorers that just smart, cerebral, and plays above his age. When you watch him play, you'd have no idea he's an 08 out there.
All right, so let's move on to number 7, which is Malden Catholic. Malden Catholic lost Owen Keefe. What do you think of that?
Obviously, Owen Keefe tendered with Muskegon in the USHL, a great opportunity for him to challenge himself at the game's highest level as far as junior hockey goes in North America. He committed to Boston University right out of Malden Catholic, and they have another defenseman, Nick Evans, who's a sophomore for Chris Kucher's team, who will log a ton of minutes for them. He's just a steady, good in gaps, good in breakouts. Will be a key for Malden Catholic this year.
And do you see him as a potential Division I college hockey prospect?
Yeah, I think Evans is definitely a D1 player. He's probably not as high-end as Owen, but he'll be a Division I player down the road.
And moving right along to number 6, St. Mary's of Lynn and their longtime coach, Mark Lee.
We're a young team, 4 seniors, several sophomores, 10 freshmen, and even an 8th grader. So we'll figure it out as it goes, but very young, ambitious. Starts with our captain, Brady Bullock, and Cam McGonigal, a sophomore who had an outstanding freshman year. Aiden Fitzpatrick is a freshman that just came in. He's going to be a pretty good player for us, we believe, as a freshman, with a freshman goaltender starting, Anthony Palmer. So we're excited to see all these young guys out there and getting a great experience.
So Mark Lee approaching 500 wins, Jeff. Pretty good.
Yeah, Mark Lee's been around for a long time. His teams always play hard. Ever since I first saw his teams way back when, his teams just compete hard every night. They bring that blue collar mentality, and they buy into his system. And a lot of his assistants have been around for a long time, like Matt Smith and Jason Bullock and Devin Anno, and it's a great staff up there, and they do a great job up there.
And he's lucky to have a guy like Anthony Palmer in net.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony Palmer is one of the best 2007-born goaltenders in the country. He will be a freshman there this year. He's been on the team for a couple years now, but he kind of bid his time with some of the upperclassmen. Now the net is his, and he's a little bit on the smaller side, but he's athletic, he's quick, he has a great glove, and he's one of those goaltenders that can make an absolute difference for the Spartans this year.
Clearly some high praise, and someone else that you think very highly of, Brady Bullock, as well.
Yeah, Brady Bullock's kind of the typical St. Mary's player. He's skilled, he competes, moves his feet, hunts pucks on the forecheck, and just a little undersized too, but just gets the most out of his ability and fun to watch. Usually plays left wing. He's been around forever there too. It feels like, I think he played as an 8th grader. So he'll be a key to them, but they've got a couple other young players like Aiden Fitzpatrick who will step right in and have a major contribution for that team.
Expectations-wise for a team that's that good, you got a great forward up front, you got Anthony Palmer in net. What are kind of the expectations for a team like that?
Well, I think for St. Mary's, for 20 years now, they've had teams that were really good, never really made it to the deep into the Super 8. Obviously the Super 8 isn't around anymore, but I think the Spartans, for them, they're nothing short of a state championship will satisfy Mark Lee, just based on how good his teams have been, and they've consistently won, but now it's kind of getting over the top and winning at the top level.
We're halfway through, and we'll continue after this.
Not a lot of expectations. I don't like to do that as much. You never know. Every year is a different season, but I think we're off to a good start. We have a good group. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's great coming out, seeing all the coaches and all the players. Everyone's got, 0-0 record and a lot of hope for the season, so it's good to see everyone.
You just heard from Hingham coach Tony Messina, Hingham number 5 on this list. Jeff, what are the expectations for a team like Hingham?
Hingham's consistently been the best public school team on the South Shore for a while now.
Jacobus to Brazel to Rugg in the middle. That play looked offside, and Brazel shot the goal.
Beautiful play.
Terrific play by Travis Rugg on the far boards, and Brazel never stopped, went to the post. And,
their team just seemed to reload and keep being in the top 10, top 12 every year. Tony Messina's done a great job. Aiden Brazel is a big kid, 6'3". He's a goal scorer. He's scored goals for them for a few years now. He's a senior. He's been around the block. He doesn't necessarily have the best shot in the world, but he knows where to go. He finds those soft spots and can really put the puck in the back of the net that way. And he'll be the key that kind of pushes their offense. But they have a few other really strong players. Chase McKenna on defense. They have to replace 2 goaltenders. One graduated. One, Keegan Wilson's a really good goaltender that left to go to Belmont Hill. But there's no doubt in my mind that Hingham will be there in the end as one of the top 10 teams in the state.
As a public school, how does Hingham keep doing it?
Well, I think you look, even the prep school rosters, the college rosters around here, Hingham, hockey is in Hingham's blood. They always have good players, and to me, it's kind of about the tradition, the youth hockey teams kind of pushing, having a good youth program, and Hingham definitely has a good youth program.
Moving on to number 4, another really good public school, Arlington. Coach John Masuri has them in the running every single year. How is he doing it?
Arlington, way back when, before my time, but you look through the history of Mass high school hockey, and Arlington and some of those Middlesex League teams have been good for over 50 years now. John Masuri played at Arlington High growing up, went on to a great college career at Princeton. He started his coaching career at Winchester. Now he's back at his alma mater, and he just always has good teams and gets a few kids to stick around. And this year Jake Russell is one of those players that he might not be on everyone's radar for Division I, but he's a really good high school hockey player. A little undersized, but he hunts pucks. He's smart. He makes plays two-way forward at this level. He'll be their big guy up front, but they have a couple other guys that are really going to contribute. Liam Gore, Evan Jones. They're just a good team, and I expect them to be the class of the Middlesex League this year.
So we have 3 teams left. Coming in at number 3, Catholic Memorial. Jeff, CM has Tyler Hamilton, sophomore center, who, as you've said, has really good expectations coming into this year.
Yeah, to me, he's the best prospect in high school hockey by far. And he's a 200-foot center that's smart both ways, plays all situations. You look through the years in the Catholic Conference, and it's very rare that a freshman is playing center on the first line, playing in all situations, and that's what Hamilton did last year. He had a very good fall for the Junior Eagles, coached by Ian Moran, and I expect him to be one of those kids that will have a college commitment next August 1st. And great skater, like I said, smart. Just he's going to be what pushes them to go this year. But they're deep, and they were deep last year. They have a kid, Connor Freiberger, up front, who's very good, big kid. Finn Burke is a senior defenseman. He'll patrol their blue line. He's already committed to play Division III in the NESCAC at Bowdoin. To me, Catholic Memorial's only somewhat question mark is in goal, as they lost Dom Moleka to graduation. but I fully expect them to be in the running to win a Catholic Conference and to win a state championship.
8 down, 2 to go.
The goal is to win the Catholic Conference and to be there at the end, and we're going to do everything in our power to try to get there.
As New England Hockey Journal rolls on after this. If you follow high school hockey, then you need My Hockey Live. Check out live streaming broadcasts and stay up to date on all your favorite teams. Get instant access to live and on-demand games at myhockeylive.com. We're back here with Jeff Cox of the New England Hockey Journal. I'm Evan Marinofsky. 2 teams left on our list, and at number 2 is Zavarian.
We have a good, young, hungry nucleus back, and they put a lot of work in the off-season, and one day at a time is really the approach with a young group.
Good face-off, boys. Get in on it.
We try to build a positive culture so that when the guys do come in, they're used to the way we train, the way we do the off-ice, the way we give back, and then obviously the way we compete on the ice. So the goal is to win the Catholic Conference and to be there at the end, and we're going to do everything in our power to try to get there.
So Zavarian, runner-up last year. What's it going to take for this team to get over the hump?
Well, they brought in a very good goaltender from Franklin High School, Cole Pouliot-Porter, who's one of the better young goalies in the state. He's one of those goalies that will make acrobatic saves. He's like a Tim Thomas-esque goalie, but he's fun to watch. And they have 2 older veteran forwards that have been around for a while, in Joe DiMartino and Gavin Moynihan. Joe DiMartino is one of those players that necessarily isn't the best skater in the world, but he's one of those players that's heavy on pucks, has a good shot. And then on defense, they have a kid, Cole LeBlanc, who kind of bid his time there, played JV as a freshman, got some ice time last year as a sophomore, and is ready to take a big step as a junior this year.
Finally, the year begins as it ended last year with St. John's Prep atop the board. We caught up with head coach Christian Hansen via Zoom.
Our job as the coaching staff, really from day one, starting yesterday, is just to remind the kids of what it takes. It doesn't just happen. You don't just show up this year and win it because you won it last year. We lost some guys to graduation. There need some new phases on the team. It's going to take time for this team to build an identity. I think this year, for me, it's a little bit of different added pressure, I guess, having won the title last year and knowing we have a good group back. It's about trying to put the right pieces in place as quickly as possible and getting off to a good start while knowing you're going to be a target for most teams, like we are most years anyway.
How does St. John's Prep do it?
To me, they just buy into their system. Like last year's team, they forechecked hard, they got pucks in deep. They made it hard for the opposition to go 200 feet to put the puck in their own net. And the 1, 2, 3, they rolled lines, everyone contributed. It was a different player jumping up each night and having success for them. I didn't necessarily think their goaltending or defense were that great last year. Not that they weren't very good, but it was just the system and the fact that the forwards cycled pucks down low and just made it hard for the other teams to crack their defense.
Speaking of forwards, a lot of good ones coming into this year. What are you seeing from them on offense?
Cole Blazer's the best player coming back. He had a great summer, made it to the Massachusetts Hockey Final 40. He's kind of one of those late bloomers that's athletic. As Coach Hansen told me last year, he just keeps getting better. Great work ethic, worked really hard. Jake Vanna's one of those players that was a star on their soccer team this fall. He's heavy on pucks, great shot. He's always been on the line with Christian Rosa, who's a great skater, one of the best skaters in high school hockey. Will Van Sicklin, another really good player up front. And then they have some young prospects coming up the pipeline at St. John's Prep, including Ethan Goodrich. They're so deep, and I expect them to just run through most of their competition this year.
On defense, who are the people to watch?
Aiden Holland is their top guy. He's a senior. He's been around. He was a key player for them last year. And then Nick Brandano is one of the younger players he got a little bit of ice time as the season went along last year as a freshman. He should hop in and play a little bit more this year. But they'll just be deep, well coached, and they have size, they have athleticism. To me, they're one of those teams that they win with a lot of guys that are multi-sport athletes who buy into Christian Hansen's system, and it'll be a fun team to watch once again this year.
As a whole for the season, Jeff, what are sort of your overall thoughts heading into the season, given the landscape of high school hockey?
I think, it's obviously an ever-changing landscape with the academies and the prep schools and all the options that kids have. But when you go to a high school hockey game in Massachusetts, the fan support, the student sections, the intensity, it's unmatched around here. It's great to watch, and I think the key to me, kind of, if there's one talking point, it's the strength of the Catholic Conference, because like we just said, 1, 2, 3 are Catholic Conference teams, with Arlington and Hingham kind of knocking on the door. But the Catholic Conference teams, to me, are going to reign supreme once again this year.
And that's it. Our look at Eastern Mass boys high school hockey as another season gets underway. I'm Evan Marinovsky. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
This is the kickoff that, all the kids get excited for, the coaches, and get ready to go.
This is a great weekend and a great tribute to Garrett Regan, who is an amazing person and a heck of a hockey coach and ran a great program in Hingham. So it's a great way to kind of remember Garrett for all of us that knew him so well.
An exciting day for everyone, but especially for Hingham. The tournament's named after our former coach, and we're excited.
It's hockey time. We're excited.